United States Open Golf Championship at the Olympic Club in San Francisco. Well, there it is, the Golden Gate Bridge, just past its 50th birthday, wisps of fog capping its towers. The waters of the Golden Gate in San Francisco Bay sprinkle with white caps and white sails. It is, of course, San Francisco, scene of this year's U.S. Open Golf Championship. And over that hill, there it is, the city, as they call it simply here. A century after the Barbary Coast, decades after the earthquake, one of planet Earth's loveliest sights, San Francisco. And what a weekend this is going to be. The weather, well, the weather changes hour by hour, sometimes minute by minute around here, but we're having a break so far here at the Olympic Club. And as you pull back from the city, from the bay, and from the bridge, you see the golf course itself. The temperature 71, warmer than the first 2 days of play. Humidity not too bad. The wind, well, rather negligible at the moment. The chance of rain, they still say, is 30%. Well, we'll see about that. How do they stand? Well, as of this minute, here are the leaders. The only man who has played one hole among the leaders is Ben Crenshaw, and he is 2 under par. He birdied the first hole. And there you see Watson, a young Mark Wiebe, Nicholas, and Langer of Germany, Crenshaw, Nakajima of Japan, and Jim Thorpe, who always plays so well in the Open. Moving along, others still challenging, very seriously challenging. John Cook, the former U.S. Amateur champion. Larry Mize, the Masters champion. Bob Eastwood and Lenny Clements and Mac O'Grady and Ed Doherty, who long years ago led the PGA for 1 round. Scott Simpson you saw there. Stadler's still in it. And Ozaki Jumbo of Japan. Russ Cochran, the left-hander. Greg Norman is back in it at 1 over. Well, he picked up a birdie, but then a bogey, 1 over par. Let's take a look at the last 3 pairings now, and the times you see on the left of the screen are Pacific Daylight Time. At 11:20, well, that was about 15 minutes ago, Eastwood, Simpson, and Cook teed off. And then at 11:30 on the dot, Langer, Nicholas, and Nakajima, the last group to go off. At 11:40, very shortly, will be Jim Thorpe, Mark Wiebe, and Tom Watson. And there is the first tee. There's the last group. Watson in the pink sweater. He favors that quite often. Still on the practice putting green. And we're going to walk along with him. Thought he headed for the first tee, but not quite yet. Tom Watson, winner of 5 British Opens, 2 Masters, and 1 U.S. Open. Never won the PGA yet. The pro shop in back and part of the clubhouse. Scorer's tent. And the crowd. They have limited attendance here to 25,000. All of the tickets were sold before they were printed. That was last summer. Okay, good afternoon. I'm Jim McKay, reporting live from the Olympic Club in San Francisco. You know, there are certain sporting occasions where the event overwhelms and transcends, really, the competitors themselves, the crowd, the money, just about everything, simply because of the importance of the event itself. And if you've been traveling with me all spring, we have seen a number of those occasions. Of course, the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness and the Belmont and the Indianapolis 500, and now the U.S. Open. It should really be something because the leaderboard is full of glamour and familiar names. Names like Watson and Nicholas and the defending champion Ray Floyd. And there are foreign challengers like Nakajima of Japan and Langer of West Germany and Ballesteros of Spain. It should really be something over the next 2 days. Let's bring in a man who 21 years ago, the last time the Open was played here, finished 4th, paired with Jack Nicklaus on the final round, Dave Marr.
Jim, what I've been looking forward to at the Olympic Club, not only is it a great course, but it might be a good time to judge just how good the players are nowadays. You hear a lot of talk about the field is deeper and there's a lot more good players. And this week, I think that's been proven. In 1966, 151 made the cut, that score. This year, 147 made the cut, and the largest cut ever, 77 players. And I think that proves that not only there's a lot more good players. They are, in a way, shooting lower scores. Maybe not lower than Arnold did when he led with 3 under going to the last round. But look at all the red scores there on a very, very difficult golf course.
Well, as you well know, let's take a look now at Tom Watson walking towards the first tee. There he is, a little bit of a smile for the crowd. And 2 of the most memorable days of his golfing career coming up. If he could win this one, remember, he hasn't won a tournament in almost 3 years. It would really be something. Golf, as you well know, Dave, is perhaps the only major game where the playing surface changes from place to place and is an important aspect of the competition. Idiosyncrasies of the course. Olympic has plenty. Let's take a look at some of those right now as they head for the first tee. Well, there's the par, 70, remember. Short for an open course, but it doesn't play short, 6,700 and some yards. And there, a wide look at the course.
It's just a marvelous golf course, and we'll show you what Tom has just seen there as he walks up. Sometimes you feel like it's the last mile going to the first tee when you're leading, but it's unusual in that you start with a par 5. Last time that happened was at Riviera in 1948. Very reachable hole. Today, Greg Norman knocked it on in 2. It's a magnificent golf course. In the 3rd hole, you'll see this great par 3, but the real picture here, the Golden Gate out in the mists and fog there, beautiful. Of course, you've got wind, you're very near the ocean, you've got the tall rough. The fairways are the best I've ever seen, cut down to just very short. The thing about Olympic, the trees. You don't need very many bunkers here, but you've got an awful lot of cypress, pine, and eucalyptus trees in the rough. Make it demanding golf course.
3,000 of them
in the fairway. The 8th hole, little unusual thing, comes back to the clubhouse here at the Olympic Club, where most of your courses here in the United States go 1-9 back to the clubhouse. The only fairway bunker on the course that you can put a tee shot in at number 6, and it catches a lot of people, Jim.
No question about that. Well, the moment to gulp has almost approached right now on the first tee. The leaders in this championship about to tee off, and introducing them will be David Bay of the United States Golf Association. Here we go.
This is the final group of the day. The referee is Bill Williams, the president of the United States Golf Association. The observer is Billy Joe Patton, a member of the USGA Executive Committee, and the special observer is Sir Robin Cater, the captain of the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St Andrews, Scotland. The players are Jim Thorpe, Buffalo, New York. Mark Wiebe, Littleton, Colorado. And Tom Watson, Kansas City, Missouri. Mr. Thorpe has the honor. Play away, please.
Jim Thorpe, what a story. He's had a good career in the PGA Tour, but the Open has been his favorite bailiwick. He always plays well in it.
Seems to. They don't waste a lot of time telling you what everybody's won, do they? They just call your name and where you're from and let's go.
You signed up. Tee it up. Once played a little football at Morgan State.
We said number one's a par 5 and a very reachable hole. This fairway, it's a slight dog leg to the right, and the fairway down at that part begins to slope a little bit to the right. So you want to kind of favor the left side of the fairway if you can, Jim.
Jim Thorpe, a long hitter. He says that favors him here. He says even if he gets in the rough, he's a very strong player and get out of it. Mark Wiebe now, age 29, out of San Jose State.
Talk about Jim Thorpe being a long hitter. I think there won't be any short hitters in this group here.
Tom Watson.
Now there he goes past Thorpe.
Should have marked Jim's ball there. He almost hit it. Okay, this is almost a local favorite here, being from Stanford and what he's done at winning the Open at Pebble and so forth.
He and Wiebe, too. This is a par 5 hole, but it is reachable in 2. If you're going to go for it, he's going to try for an eagle on this golf course, this is the place, and he's outdriven both of them.
Can you believe those three drives? They're absolutely perfect.
And that can really key you around, Ken. What you do on that first hole.
It's important to get off to a good start. Good, smooth swing. Tom's rhythm looked very good. You know, if there's anything you can take fault with Tom's swing, is it gets a little quick.
This is on videotape on the same hole, the first, just a minute or so ago. Jack Nicklaus with his third shot on this par 5 hole. Coming out of the rough. Oh, my goodness. We're off to quite a start in the third round of the United States Open in San Francisco. Stick around. There are hours and hours to come. Holds up, Bo, it's something to do with our satellite coverage. I don't understand that business, but it does work and helps bring the pictures in. We call it the Goodrich blimp after our producer, Bob Goodrich. There's the big fella, the Goodyear blimp, up high overhead. Cruising over San Francisco Bay. Must be a rather pleasant job on a day like this. Tommy Nakajima. This is a moment ago. Putting for a birdie on the first hole that would move him into a tie for the lead. Oh, not quite. Now, I take it he was on in 3 and not 2. Okay, now, again on tape, Bernhard Langer of Germany, a putt to tie for the lead. And he's got it. Langer of Japan moving into a tie with Watson and Wiebe. Now Nicklaus live. This for a birdie also. It would tie him for the lead, and we'd have a 4-way tie here in the 3rd round. Jack Nicklaus looking for a 5th Open Championship. He's done it. A 4-way tie for the lead. Watson and Wiebe and Langer and Nicklaus. What a leaderboard we have, and I suspect we're going to have for a long time. Joining us in coverage, of course, will be my ABC colleagues, Jack Whitaker and Peter Alex across the sea from England once again. And I'm sure you have something to say.
Well, James, it's just remarkable, isn't it? As you've been saying all along here, this leaderboard is so rich. If it were food, I think we'd all have acne. And it should be hanging in the Hall of Fame at Golf House. A lot of things strike you here. There are many people that can win this and should win it, but I think Tom Watson coming in here, not the Watson of old, he missed the cut in 3 out of his last 4 tournaments, to get his game together and to lead this tournament at the halfway mark is remarkable. Jack Nicklaus, who came in here and by his own admission as late as Tuesday night was playing the worst golf of his career, has got his game together. And if this is going to be another in that long, beautiful confrontation between the two of them, like the Masters in 75 and the British Open in 77 and Pebble Beach in 82 at the U.S. Open, it will pleasure these old bones of mine immensely, Peter.
Yes, well said indeed. And of course, on top of all that, we have the international flavor. Not since, there have been 3 overseas players who've won this championship since 1945. And the USGA must be very pleased that they went out of their way to invite 6 players who are very little known on this circuit, and all 6 qualified for the final 2 rounds. So they must be very pleased with that. And, as you say, a great international flavor. I thought there was a possibility that the non-American could win this championship. Only 3, remember, since the war have managed to do that. But this year, who knows? I think we're in for a cracking couple of days golf, Jack.
I think so too, Peter. Jim?
All right, Jack, here's Mark Wiebe with his second shot on the par 5. The water beyond, just a gorgeous place. Oops. He's not looking at the water now. Wiebe with a wild shot. Rossi, how bad is that? Can you see it?
Well, it's not going to be good because he missed it on the wrong side. If anything, he's going to be pitching down the hill with the green breaking way away from him. He's going to have a very, very difficult shot, and I haven't seen if the trees are going to interfere or not.
It looked like they might, Bob. How long a shot does Watson have, and would you venture as to what club he may be hitting?
I think this is a 3-iron, David, from 240 yards.
Bob Rustberg, of course, walking the fairways as he will be all day today and tomorrow.
I don't think he caught it real good.
No. Going in the left rough. After gorgeous tee shots, both Watson and Wiebe finding the left race. The left rough. On-course commentators, Judy Rankin, Ed Sneed, Bob Rosberg. Play goes on, and we'll be back here very shortly. We have a 4-way tie for the lead.
Preceding message was brought to you by the USGA Green Section, which helps keep America beautiful.
The crowd of 25,000 scattered around the course right now. They'll concentrate more by the end of the day. And again, we have a four-way tie for the lead. Jack Nicklaus looking for his fifth. Tom Watson looking for his second U.S. Open and his ninth major. Bernhard Langer of Germany. Dave tells me I said Japan a while ago. That's another guy. Mark Wiebe went to San Jose State just down the line. Ben Crenshaw, who led after the first day. Jim Thorpe at 2 under. John Cook, Rob Eastwood, Lenny Clements right in there, and Mac O'Grady. And here, Tom Watson with his third shot on the par 5 first hole, 533 yards long. From the rough, okay, safely on.
That's all he had there, Jim. If he pitched it far enough to clear the rough that you see on the right side of your screen, he would have gone at least that far by. That was the safe, best play he had.
Mark Wiebe, however, has something, I believe, even more difficult. Bob, any later word on the problem there?
I believe that Mark is going to have to play out to the right. In fact, to the right of Tom's ball. If he gets this ball within 40 feet of the hole, I think he'll be very happy. He would take an awful risk, Jim, if he was trying to pitch it low and run it through this rough, because it practically has no chance. And if it does get on the green going at any pace at all, it's going to run right off the back.
Okay.
He's got to keep it low, so he's got to pitch out onto the fairway.
Well, this is what Olympic features. They don't need any fairway bunkers here to speak of, because if you miss these fairways or you hit a bad enough shot, you're in Hansel and Gretel land here. It's awful dark in here.
More than 3,000 trees. When the club started, there were none. They were all planted since 1917. Okay.
That is a really good shot. It doesn't look like much, but I'll tell you, that was a great shot.
He's not, in fact, on the green, is he, Bob? He's
No,
just
not
in the
quite.
fringe area.
He isn't on the green,
Yeah.
David, but he'll be coming up against the hill with his putt, and I think that he really played a smart shot, and he played it well.
What did Jim Thorpe do with his second shot?
Jim knocked it over the green. He carried it on the green, but it didn't hold. He tried to hit a 2-iron and really nailed it. He was about 250 yards and carried it onto the green, but it ran off the back into the heavy stuff.
Well, that's probably what caused them to hit those second shots they hit, right, after he hit his?
Well, I think it could have, David, although I just think that both of them made bad swings. It looked to me like Tom just quit into the ball completely, and Mark was trying to hold it to the left and put it in a place where he couldn't play. Now, Jim has the best chip that you can have here, chipping back up against the hill. It'll slow the ball down a little. It's going to run out of the rough, but it's not a real fast chip.
3 years ago, whoop, there is Mr. Chili Dip, even as you and I at our club, we don't have rough that heavy, Ho.
No, but we saw
Negotiate.
Hogan do that. I mean,
Yep.
if you play the game, you're going to hit every kind of shot eventually, but that's a shame. They both turn, or both, all three have turned what looked like an easy birdie hole into a career.
Sometimes
How
you
long
say,
is this telecast? I mean, we'll be here forever watching them play the first hole.
sometimes you say you can sum it up in 3 words, United States Open. So now the fourth shot for Jim Thorpe.
Now, this shot's a lot harder because of what he just did. Go, Jim.
Nope. Going to have a long putt for his par 5 now. Jim Thorpe, who finished tied for 4th in this championship in 1984. 11th back in 1981. The second hole is a par 4, 394 yards long. Jack Nicklaus is playing that now. And he's in the rough.
Left rough gets a lot of action here, Jim. It's a hole where players downhill on your tee shot, and it seems to run to the left there, and you can see what some of what Jack's view is. The pin is over the right-hand bunker, and of course, a lot depends on this lie as to what he can do with it. Well, he couldn't get enough club on the ball to get it because the second shot's a little bit uphill.
If you've just joined us, Nicklaus is tied for the lead right now, having birdied the first hole. Now Mark Wiebe with his sweatshirt look. He features. Has played this course a number of times because he went to school again down the road in San Jose State. His fourth shot.
Slow down.
And he'll have that for the par 5.
This is really not what you want to do on the first hole. They are really testing their skills and their nerves right off the bat.
They're all saying, what's happening here? I did what I was supposed to do on my tee shot.
There's the water out there across the road, and then the trees.
They're not hearing any of that.
No.
It's funny, David, that this being a course so close to the ocean, everything tends to break away from the ocean. While you take a place like Pebble Beach, everything goes toward the ocean, but almost everything goes toward Lake Merced here.
That's strange, isn't it?
Well, you come over a little ridge, you know. The practice tee is very windy, and you seem to walk over a little ridge back to the golf course, and I think that blocks out the wind, plus that slope of the hill goes down to the lake.
Tom Watson for a birdie.
Well, I was going to say, where's his caddy? They don't putt yet.
Caddy Bruce Edwards has been with him a long time now.
Just stayed on the high side, but golly, all three of them are.
All decided to test the nerves early. Larry Mize.
That was at the third hole.
Yep. That was a birdie attempt that would have tied him for the lead. The Masters champion. He chipped one in here yesterday, too. Even as he did in the Masters. And beat Greg Norman and Seve in the playoff. Now Jim Thorpe.
These are awful big putts, Jim, as far as the mood that you're going to be in and how you get off. If you can play so messy at the first hole and then get out with a par, you're going to feel pretty good now. I mean, just a few minutes ago, I know they were, all three of them had to be thinking, well, I'll make a birdie here and, you know, get off to a nice, easy start. And they've made what looks like a simple hole into a difficult hole.
Taking them a long time to play it, too.
Sixes and fives take a long time.
Tell me.
Better go.
So, the little one now for a bogey 6 for Jim Thorpe. He was thinking eagle, you know that, on his second shot, but went over the green, had the chili dip, and there you are.
Well, that's too bad, because now you've got 17 hard holes.
Yes.
I mean, if you're going to make a birdie, you have to think, well, I can get off to a start here at number one. In a way like Colonial in Fort Worth, which is starts with a par 5 that you say is a good birdie hole, and then 17 hard finishing holes.
Weeby needing this for the par.
Now, the only good thing about this is he had to watch that as it went by the hole. So as we look at Nicklaus at the second hole, his third shot.
On the par 4. Nope, pulled up on him, so he'll have that long one for a par. And there's Weeby. No.
That ball did not move to the left.
So it's a bogey 6 for Mark Weeby. He drops to 2 under for the championship. A shot out of the lead. It's going to ebb and flow a little bit here this afternoon. That's obvious. Watson for the par. Yep. And Watson drops down to 2 under. And now tied for the lead are Nicklaus and Longer, but Nicklaus has a problem.
What a turn of events. All three of the best players in the world all made 6 in a hole they can reach for the 9.
There'll be much more of that. We'll return with more golf action here at the Olympic Club in San Francisco after this message and a word from our local stations.
We're back as we look at Jack Nicklaus, the whole par and a share of the lead with Bernhard Langer. And he too will drop down. At least.
And that was a little frisky, Jack, going by the hole there.
Guess so. He's got a little work left, doesn't he? And now there's just Longer, where moments ago we had 4 tied for the lead. And Nakajima. Clearwater is the hottest golfer on the course at the moment. He's playing the 18th. He's 1 under for the tournament and 6 under for the day. High. All right, at the moment, let's go to our colleague Al Troutway.
Okay, Jack. You know, frequently as we look at the course and look at these players, especially with players like Watson and Nicklaus out there, we can't help but look back to famous U.S. Opens past and those special moments that we hold so dear. It's very special for me to be taking part in an event that I am sure will be looked upon as memorable in years to come. I've also found it very enchanting to look at the club pros, the ones who have had their special dreams. Some of them are playing this weekend, some of them are not. Scott Hazeldine is one that we have followed from Happy Trails, Arizona. He was one of those players that missed the cut by only 1 stroke. That's how close he came. Thank you, Jack.
Nicklaus for bogey. So he's back 2 under, 1 shot behind the leader now, Longer, who has it at the moment by himself. As they'll move on to the par 3 third hole. Oh, a birdie at the first hole for Jack, a bogey at the second. And here is Nakajima.
Watch him, Jack. He's a fine player. He's won a lot of tournaments all over the world. Just hasn't won here yet.
Yes, sir. Solidly in. And Tom Kite now has joined Bernard Longer for the lead at 3 under. Tom. Oh, I'm sorry. Has not. He's just 3 over. Not 3 under. But he has just ripped off 2 birdies in a row. As we look down at the Olympic Club through the swirling mists, it has been sweater weather from the beginning here.
Well, it always is a little cool here still in June. They don't get real warm till August and September, Jack.
Yes, indeed. This is like perpetual September here, isn't it? This is the 3rd tee. Longer, Nicklaus, Nakajima. And we look now at Ballesteros at the 11th. This is for birdie. Put him at even, and he does. Seve just 3 shots behind the leader Longer. And Jim Thorpe at the 2nd, coming out of that rough, just out into the shortcut of the rough. And you can see with that shot what the rough now at Olympic can do.
Jim said he was strong enough to play out of this rough, but not out of that lie. Jack, that's about as far as he could have hit it.
Yeah.
He should have gotten it in the fairway, though, because the pin is in the right back, and he left it in the right-hand rough, and that's not good.
All right, what's Weeby got here, Ross?
This is Mark Weeby from 175 yards to the flag.
I noticed that 6 got him right out of that sweatshirt, didn't it? Huh?
Thorpe came out of his sweater, and Weeby came out of his sweatshirt.
You bet.
Well, this might get him right back into it. Great shot.
This is Watson from 165. All used irons off this tee.
And that's up there rather nicely, too. So Watson on, Weeby on, and Thorpe in a little bit of trouble as we look up at the Golden Gate. 50 years old and looking beautiful as ever. All right, here's the 4th green as we look back down the fairway.
Very tough pin position today, Jack, and you're shooting uphill, pins in the left front. Wonderful par 4.
And the Masters champion has it on its way. Now, beautifully on here for Larry Mines at the 4th hole. And so we're underway in the 3rd round of this incredibly dramatic and interesting United States Open. We'll be back.
Well, there's the 3rd hole here at the Olympic Club. Slightly downhill through the trees, 223 yards, and the one place you don't want to be is away to the right. Here's Bernhard Langer, the championship leader. All down the hill, see the bunkers left and right. And this will be a long iron. Oh, that was a strange-looking swing. And he's gone where he shouldn't have done, down in the crowd away on the right. It's a very interesting hole, and Jack Nicklaus has taken a look at it, and here he is, Jack, talking about this 3rd hole.
3rd hole, a 223-yard par 3, is a downhill par 3 that you do not want to miss to the right of the green. And of course, the prevailing wind comes left to right here, which will help the ball to the right. So I think you're going to find most of the players, because of the elevated tee, playing a 2 to 3 iron, trying to favor the left side of the green.
Now Tommy Nakajima, one of the 6 invited overseas players, invited by the USGA, not a regular player on this tour, but the finest player of the Far East Circuit, which runs from New Zealand right the way up to Japan. He doesn't look too happy with that one either. Falling away to the right, but it just, well, you can see it just off the edge of the green, but quite a long way from the hole. There's a fine view across to the bridge. Henry Longhurst it was who said that weren't we lucky that golf and our job and our business took us to so many beautiful places, and this is yet another of them. Wonderful setting. Now, Jack, a bit of a untidy start, but that was a good putty hold on the last, albeit for a 1 over par 5, a nasty 4-footer, and here he is with all the green to aim at. Virgin territory. Well, that was a nice little spin in off that little corner there, the front right corner, and Jack's not all that far from the hole. Tom Watson on the second, and to settle for a par. I wonder what sort of day in prospect for Tom Watson. Here's Mark Wiebe. This for a birdie. Supposed to join Bernhard Langer at 3 under par. A formidable man. Oh no, that was a funny little putt. He hardly seemed to take the putter back at all. And edgy putt. And so a 4 for Wiebe. And here quickly to the 18th, Keith Clearwater, who we think that was for a par 4, which would give him a round of 64, which would tie the course record. 1 under for the championship. We'll give you confirmation of that score, but that's a cracking round from Clearwater. An interesting caddy there. The man caddying for him, Nick DePaul, is the regular caddy for Seve Ballesteros on the European Tour. So Seve's got his brother here caddying for him, and you know, he's picked up a good bag there with Keith Clearwater. 64, not confirmed yet, but that would tie the record. Harry Mize got his par at the 4th. And yet another sparkling view down onto this 3rd green. And another look at the leaderboard. Some big names there, not a million miles away. Remember the leader, Langer, 3 under. Ray Floyd, the defending champion, is 5 behind at the moment. Now back to the 3rd, and down there on the left, Bernard Langer is down, and that could be a nasty place. Well, it doesn't look too bad from here, but an awkward shot.
He has hit the ball into an area that's trampled down. Now, he can get the club on it, but he doesn't have much air underneath the ball to slide the club underneath the ball. So if he hits the ball close to the hole, it'll be a very good shot.
Voice of Ed Sneed. Langer's chip shot there, you can see it. Wasn't much else he could do with that. And we have had confirmation that Keith Clearwater's round is official, 64 strokes. So that's a tremendous round from him, and it's pulled him right up the leaderboard. He's in and finished at 1 under, and the others, the leader, Langer, looks as if he's going to drop one here. That score today, 64 of Clearwater's, will certainly have done him a power of good. Nakajima. He's chipping it just from that little bit of fluffy semi-rough, hands forward.
He's got a good lie, Peter. I think he'll chip this close to the hole.
Lovely shot. You guessed that one right, Ed. Beautifully judged from Nakajima. How's the atmosphere out on the course, Ed? Pretty electrifying?
Peter, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you there because of the crowd.
I was just saying it must be quite an electrifying atmosphere out there amongst the crowd. It must be very exciting.
Peter, it really is. As everyone has been talking about you, I just can't recall a tournament with this many great players near the lead. Not a U.S. Open. It really is. People are really excited about the play. They're scrambling around out here for a view, and it really is something.
Langer's third shot. And, well, it looks as if it should get a 4, but that bad shot there. Well, we spoke earlier with Jack Nicklaus as to what makes the U.S. Open Championship courses so different from others. Here's what he had to say.
Well, the U.S. Open, I think, is set up as, for the most part, the complete examination is what they try to do. Try to make you drive the ball straight. If you don't drive the ball into the fairway, they don't try to just make you chip it out. They give you an opportunity to play some sort of a shot, but not the kind of a shot that you can just throw it out of the rough and throw darts onto the green. You've got to just do something else. The greens are always fast. They're always firm. The rough around the green is tough. You've got to do a whole bunch of things. The only shot that you really don't play much of in the U.S. Open, but you do at Olympic, is a little pitch and run from short of the green. In other words, a lot of the U.S. Open courses are so surrounded with rough that you can't play the little pitch and run. Here you can, like you do in Britain. It's But I just think that the good players who will play more good shots will be more patient and end up with lower scores overall. The golf courses that have a lot of heroics and a lot of different things happen are more exciting, maybe more fun for the fans to watch. But the U.S. Open type golf course, I think, brings the cream to the top.
Well, it certainly brought the cream to the top here this week. Nicholas, you can just see how the green is just beginning to scuff up. The spike marks beginning to show.
Peter, Jack played a shot here that I think is an example of how you have to play at Olympia. His ball landed well short of the green and it hopped onto the green. The other players were more aggressive with this hole and carried the ball farther onto the green, and you saw they got into a little bit of trouble. I think really you have to be patient here. You have to be willing to land short of some of these greens if you're going to make a good score.
Langer taps in, but that's a stroke wasted here at the short fourth hole. And I think here's a classic case of if you walked up and put your ball in the center of every green, you wouldn't be all that far from the hole. You wouldn't always be in the ideal spot, but it wouldn't be all that bad. Now, back we go up the hill. 223 yards. Down through the trees. And it'll be a 1 or a 2 iron. And the wind seems to sort of push the ball down to the right. Everything slopes to the right, as you can see. And the match ahead clears out of the way. And first it'll be Mark Wheatley.
Peter, it doesn't look like there's any wind blowing at all because the flag isn't even moving, but up above the trees, the wind is coming out of the left, as you mentioned.
Six players now at 2 under. And that spun in off the bank even more effectively than Jack Nicklaus's shot. It was extraordinary to spin back off that corner, off the back of the bunker. That was a little bit of good fortune there for Mark. Now Tom Watson. That's such a simple looking swing. Strong hands, brisk movements. Straight up and down swing. And that tried its best to kick out as well.
A little unlucky there, Peter. If that ball carries another foot, it's pretty good.
Finally, Jim Thorpe played so well in this championship over the past few years. Interesting swing, very powerful man, tremendous shoulders and arms, strong legs, short, quick swing all his own. And well, they all brought it in off that little bank, but or tried to. But Weeby there quite close to the hole, and a very good chance for a birdie too. Larry Mize at the 5th. For members, this is stroke index 3, so they play it as the third most difficult hole on the course. And so, we're underway. And the leaders are final groups on the 3rd. Look who's climbing up the leaderboard, Lenny Clements. We'll take a short break.
We have a 7-way tie for the lead in the U.S. Open Championship as we play through the 3rd round. One of them, Larry Mize, the Masters champion, but he has a problem right now, short of the bunker on the 5th hole.
Might help that he's got a little bit of an uphill lie, but so much depends on the lie here. Played almost an explosion shot there. That's a marvelous shot, Jim. Didn't get as much run as I'm sure he thought he was going to get out of the tall grass.
If you've just joined us already, there has been one remarkable round turned in. Keith Clearwater, a 27-year-old touring pro from Orem, Utah, shot 64 to go to 1 under par for the championship. That tied the course record and was set by Reeves McBee here 21 years ago in 1966. Keith Clearwater just joined the PGA Tour last fall, so he's starting
Well, that's
quickly.
the third 64 he shot this year. Last day at Colonial, he shot 128. And you remember Colonial, that's a pretty hard golf course.
Yes, it is. So he has joined the battle, but he is one stroke behind the 7 leaders now. And here's another one of them, Tom Watson.
If he waits long enough, he may be leading. But the way things are going.
Could be. That is the hum of the Goodyear blimp overhead that you hear.
He's off the green, so he can leave the flag stick in.
And he always does, doesn't he? Always. Oh, what a nice shot.
Slow down.
And he'll always take that extra 2 or 3 rolls. Speaking of the blimp, we're looking down on the fog, which is rolling in from the Pacific Ocean. Conditions could change a bit here. The forecast last night was for rain. Now they're only saying 30% chance of rain, and we may have a sunny day tomorrow. There are the breakers rolling in from Hawaii, perhaps. Nakajima on the 4th fairway.
That's a great look at what the player has. Second shot plays a lot longer than the yardage. You've got to shoot up the hill. The green slopes from left to right. Very difficult shot. That looked as though he started in the proper area.
Kicking down, up. Not quite.
One more club, and he'd been all right. It landed just a little short. That's a dangerous pin to shoot at, even though Larry Mize hit a marvelous shot there just a little while ago.
Mark Wiebe.
He should get a little smoother stroke now than he had at the
that was
second hole.
Funny one, wasn't it?
Well, Jim, it's sometimes you have an open lock. I mean, you want to hit it, but you can't, or you want to take it back, but you can't. The devil made me do it.
Well, this is for the birdie. And there's Larry Mize for a par. So, neither one makes. So Mize drops down to 1 under. Wiebe will stay where he is, 2 under. Tie with 5 others now for the lead.
Well, that's a little better effort he made there than he did at the second hole.
Big, strong player. He's played this course a number of times, and local knowledge could help here. Both he and Watson have played this course more often than anybody else. Greg Norman, oddly enough, has played it a reasonable number of times because he always stops through here on his way back to Australia. Longer now. On the 438-yard par 4.
That's a 4-iron, Jim.
Okay, at the bottom of your screen, close to the pin there, that's Jack Nicklaus.
He hit a great shot out of the edge of the rough, David. He had a little bit of a flyer and hit a 4-iron to that spot.
Watson for par. Oh, now. So Watson drops down with Mize and others at 1 under.
And Clearwater, who's in having lunch, probably.
That's right. Bernhard Langer and Jack Nicklaus. Langer of Germany. We talked to him earlier about what problems he's been having with this golf course. As a matter of fact, I think we have a moment to hear what he had to say.
I'm very happy with my game, except my driver hasn't been very good. Whenever I hit the driver, I missed probably 70-80% of my tee shots. I missed the fairways, and that's just too much for a golf course like this. So I will either have to use a different driver or do something about it to improve that over the next 2 days.
I'll tell you what's improved is Bernhard Langer's English in the past couple of years. Of course, he's married to an American girl and plays a lot over here. Lenny Clements is tied for the lead. Lenny has been very quietly moving into contention here over the past 2.5 days. Larry Mize made a bogey at 5. Well, we saw that.
Clements has a little bit of a problem here. This not on the green in 3.
Lenny, born in Cherry Point, North Carolina, but he lives out here in San Diego now. We're going to take a break and come back to this fascinating tournament.
We're MCI.
In that great city by the bay, and you see a lot of these around. Beautiful and marvelous Olympic Club, which really suits the personality of this city, I think. Right elegant, and let's go out and see what's happening with the Nicholas group. And Ed Sneed, Jack, well, just Nakajima first. But Jack is up there for a birdie attempt. What did he hit?
Jack, he hit a great 4-iron shot out of the rough. He put it in the edge of the rough. It was not a bad lie, but he had about 190 yards to the pin, and you can't draw it on the plans much better than he hit that right on the front of the green and went 6 or 7 feet by the hole.
All right. Bernard Langer, Jack Nicklaus, and Tommy Nakajima in this group. Nakajima 2 under. Nicklaus at 2 under. Langer 2 under.
Tommy Nakajima's chip shot looked like a very poor shot, but it was a rather difficult shot to play. He didn't have much green to work with, and it was going to be very fast. If he had hit it a little harder, he might have hit it 10 feet by the hole instead of 10 feet short.
All right, is he going first?
Yes, he is.
Here we go.
Oh, man.
Wow. What an expensive stroke, huh? 2 millimeters. And he'll drop down to 1 under to join an increasing group there. Clements, Watson, Mize, Clearwater, Ballesteros now at 1 under, and Ben Crenshaw. But here's the man that can take control of the tournament with this putt.
Jack, he's got the kind of a putt, as I've heard David describe here. This is a defensive putt. He's only 6 or 7 feet from the hole, but it's going to break to his left, and he's putting down the hill, and it's not the kind of a putt that he can hit as hard as you would normally like to hit it.
That was pull from the start, though, Jack.
Yeah.
That's what happens, because you pull that putt sometimes because you're not able to pop it like you would like to on a putt that length, as Ed pointed out.
You have to do it like almost in slow motion, don't you?
Well,
All right, at the 6th hole, Lenny Clements. So he came up short with his last shot, and he putted to here, and now this for bogey. Nicklaus got that last putt for par to remain at 2 under. Lenny Clements now at 1 under. So, as they march to the next tee.
Jack, you may wonder why they're having so much trouble these first few holes. You know, their computer rankings, and the hardest hole is number 17. But on the front 9, the 5th hole is the second hardest. The 3rd hole is the the 4th hole is the 3rd hardest. 2nd hole is the 4th hardest. So all your hard holes are in the start generally, except the very first hole.
All right, there's your leaderboard. 3 leaders now at 2 under, but a whole gaggle at 1 under. And there come the even boys. Mac O'Grady, Ed Doherty, Greg Norman, Curtis Strange, who has already holed out for an eagle today.
So far, none of these guys are out of the tournament. They don't know it yet.
Russ Cochran, the left-hander. Sam Randolph, who got a 2-stroke penalty for slow play, or he'd only be 1 over. Now at the 5th, Jack Nicklaus.
He's taking a 1-iron here, Jack.
Well, why not if you were Jack Nicklaus, huh? Couldn't use that club as well as anybody, I guess.
Well, the contour does it, doesn't it, Ed?
It really does, Dave. He's got a little bit of wind behind him. He can't feel it at the tee, but he knows it's helping him. And the fairway slopes away to the left, and the hole doglegs to the right. So it's a very, very difficult ball to keep in the fairway.
Then what would...
He has pushed that to the right, and he's going to be lucky if he can get through the rough and the trees there.
He said fanned it, so you know he mishit it.
Yeah, he is back into the tree line there in the right rough.
All right, Jack knows about this fifth hole, and he talked about it earlier.
The fifth hole is a 457 yards par 4 dogleg to the right. The ideal tee shot is slightly left to right, just cutting across the trees to guard the right side of the fairway. If you aim the ball left, you're going to leave yourself too long a second shot and probably hit it through the fairway and have to play it out of the rough. The green slopes right to left, so it's really a shot that you must keep under the hole and to the left of the hole, otherwise you're going to have an awkward recovery.
Now Bernard Langer.
Sit down.
Well, will it stop?
I don't
Will it
think.
stop?
Well, hey,
There it is.
you can see there, Jack, the difficulty. You know, if a player feels like he has to slice the ball a little bit or cut it to the right to hold the fairway, Langer hit a very good-looking shot. It was straight, but it kicked left and almost got into the rough.
Now he just about has to hit a draw in there, doesn't he?
He definitely is going to probably play a draw for his second shot.
We look back to the tee. And Tommy Nakajima.
Here's a guy that I think certainly has all the tools to win anywhere in the world. He hasn't proven himself yet in this country, but he can really play golf.
Notice they all used the right or the left side of the tee, didn't they?
Well, he's pushed this one to the right. I think he's in the rough there, too. They try to get on the left side of the tee, Jack, to cut down the angle.
So, Nakajima and Nicklaus in the rough here at the fifth hole. As we look down from our blimp here at the Pacific Ocean, pounds against those cliffs here at the edge of San Francisco, and the clouds that obscure just along the coastline here. A little bit inland, it's probably sunny and lovely. But it makes for very comfortable playing weather here at the Olympic Club. And the Goodyear blimp lazily floating over one of our most beautiful cities. And there she is, disappearing in and out of the fog like a London pickpocket.
Jack, how do you know that?
Well, they've corrected their fog in London, haven't they? They don't have any of those nasty wood-burning things. All right, 87th United States Open, of course, our final round, live from Olympic Club, tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern Time. That Goodyear blimp Columbia, incidentally, is from Los Angeles, and the pilot is John Creighton from Orcas Island, Washington. So he's used to this kind of weather. It's equipped with a Gyrocam 360 and is operated by Bill Sullivan. As we look down now over the tousled hair of Tom Watson.
He has an awful lie, Jack. Just one of the worst lies you can imagine. He hit it out of the right-hand rough and it shot on him and landed on the green and ran over. He's played a great shot. That is a great, great shot.
Hang on.
I'll tell you just don't know how good that one was.
Ross, do these greens seem to be a little more speedy than they were yesterday?
I don't think they put a whole lot of water on them last night, Jack.
But we've seen a few that look like they're dying and keep going on. All right, this young man, Mr. Mark Wiebe, having quite a memorable week, and we asked him what he thought the U.S. Open meant and how important it was to him.
There's just something about it. You know, the people through the practice rounds from Monday on, you just, the air is just different. And I think it matters a lot where you have the golf course. This is just fantastic golf course to hold a major. It's just, it's relentless and it's hard and it's rewarding and it's fair and it's got history behind it. So it's just the people around and just everything about it. I don't know. It's just the air about the tournament that really gives it the major feeling. And then knowing, you know, you see U.S. Open on everything here. Right, yeah. You have to see it sooner or later. Yeah, really. But it's great. it's neat to play well in the open, and I like I said, I went to school here, and I'm real happy right now.
And a nice putt here from Mark Levy. I bet he's having the time of his life.
This is really a big putt for Tom Watson right here, Jack. He's got to make this one, and if he goes 3 over par the first 4 holes and still facing 5 and 6 ahead of him and watching himself slip down the leaderboard, but this one would buoy his confidence because it would be a sensational 4 if he makes it. Straight up the hill.
He's found his putting stroke a little bit this week, hasn't he?
He really has. He's putted well.
All right, he drops down even further now to even. And let's go back to Jack Nicklaus, Ed Sneed.
Jack, he got a very poor break here. He has got a very difficult shot just to put back into the fairway here. He's got to hit it between trees. He's done very well. He couldn't do much better.
Stop. Well, here's what he has. Into the green. That's Jack Nicklaus, tied for the lead with Wiebe and Longer, and here's Longer. Now, he can reach the green, Ed, no question.
Oh, yes, Jack. He's got about 205 yards, and he's got a 4-iron. I think he's going to play a hook, a nice draw, probably land just short of the green and bounce onto the green. He is not blocked, but it's a shot that sets up naturally for a draw. Well, he's pulled it to the left of the green.
Oh, my. And into the crowd. So that's what's happened to our leaders, Longer and Nicklaus here. So we'll be back with some more dramatic action after this message and a word from your local stations.
This is Al Troutwig back in San Francisco. You are sampling the culinary delights of the U.S. Open, which for the most part include hot dogs and many other things, and is also, for the most part, self-service. Here, also, some of the bad news. 2 hot dogs, $5. Now to the more serious business involving a lot more money, the U.S. Open Golf Championship. Jack Nicklaus, his 3rd shot on tape. Remember his difficult shot returning to the fairway from behind the trees. Oh, and Jack has engineered a beautiful recovery here. Meanwhile, Bernhard Langer is having a problem. You may remember his shot that went deep into the gallery. Just how deep did it go, Ed Sneed?
Well, he certainly didn't hit the kind of a shot he wanted to. He's not as far in as I thought he was. He probably got a pretty good break. I think he was stopped by the gallery. I think he's got a shot that he can play here if he hits a good shot. He's got a reasonable lie. It might look worse on camera if you can see it than it actually is. So I think he's got a pretty good chance to make a 4.
Well, when the people are 10 deep as they are at most of the holes involving the leaders, it's difficult to see a ball skipping between the legs, isn't it?
Well, it really is. It was the kind of a shot that could have run away from the green had the gallery not been there. The players these days have learned to play these golf shots so much better than they used to. You talk about a lot of the skills, and there's a lot of talk about how far the ball goes and everything else, but the players are so much better here.
Uh-oh.
Of course, no sooner than you say that, Ed, than he can't get it on the green.
Well, as I said, I thought he had a pretty good chance to make a 4. I tell you what I think the problem is with the lies around the green. The grass here is not exceptionally deep, but the grass is of a nature that it's kind of soft and it's kind of fluffy, and sometimes your ball doesn't go all the way to the bottom. And when it lays against you, it's very, very difficult to judge.
Meanwhile, moments ago at the 7th tee, a par 4, relatively short par 4, 288 yards, Ben Crenshaw, one stroke behind the leaders, as the leaders continue retreat to the best of the field.
Leave this shot. God.
That is not where you want to put it. That's a hole that you lay up on with a fairway wood. It's not very long, but it's all the golf hole you'll ever want to play.
Back to the travails of Bernhard Langer, who told me yesterday, I'm very good out of the rough because I'm there so often. And here he is again.
You stay there long enough, though, and it'll get you, Al.
Yep. Well, this is a beautiful shot. And with that tap in, Bernhard Langer will still lose a stroke. It is now Jack Nicklaus and Mark Wiebe, along with Lenny Clements, atop the leaderboard. Let's go see how Lenny Clements did it. This is his birdie putt on the 7th green. There it is. Lenny, one of those players who tried very, very hard for a long time to make his way onto the tour. He's a straight hitter. At the age of 30, he's been around. A combination of experience and hitting the ball straight have helped him here today. Meanwhile, Seve Ballesteros continues his charge to the top, putting for birdie. He's got it. David, I don't know how you felt, but I had the feeling that Ballesteros was going to recover from his difficult round of yesterday. This is Tommy Nakajima for birdie. That's curling in too much.
Al, actually, Tommy has made a bogey here. He was in the right rough, and he had to pitch out into the fairway, and the shot we probably couldn't pick up because he got a bad break too. He hit the trees and dropped down very, very close to the tee.
Ed, that's why you're there. The surprises continue. Just when you think it's safe to watch another hole,
you make a bogey.
Here's Lenny Clements. Remember now, he's right atop the leaderboard with Mark Wiebe, kid from San Jose State, and Jack Nicklaus.
What he's talking about with his caddy, Al, is he says something about the guy in the yellow sweater. That's the line that the pin is on. That flag is moving with all those people in the background. It's difficult to see the pin.
Jack Nicklaus with what would be a remarkable par. And he will bogey and drop to 1 under par. 25 years after his first U.S. Open victory and 7 years after his most recent. Back to Lenny Clements now. On the 8th tee, there you see some of the tropical flora to the left and some of the others to the right. All these trees planted on this course. These were windswept dunes long ago. Oh, and he's put it beautifully on the green.
He has no idea it's that close, Al, because you cannot see the putting surface from down there. He's shooting up the hill. Just tell by the applause that it's a good shot.
Lots of trouble short on that hole. Only 137 yards. There's a look at the leaderboard. Mark Wiebe's the only one who's on top that was there when the day began. Heath Clearwater at 1 under par, tying a long-held course record today with a 64. Tom Watson has lost 3 strokes on the day so far. And Mac O'Grady. For a while yesterday, he held the lead in this tournament at 4 under par. Today, whoa. Looked like Dave Winfield with a wet bat there.
Well, that's not too bad. I don't know what the reaction was for. But he does have a different drummer, so maybe that drummer hit his snare drum at the wrong time or something.
And that drummer is often loud. Jack Nicklaus bogeyed the putt that he missed. So he is safely off that green, but losing a stroke at 1 under par. Just when you think the sun is going to poke out, David, it just retreats into the fog again. You're looking at Jim Thorpe.
Thorpe is playing his third shot, Al. He hit a terrible shot off the tee, caught the trees right off the right-hand side, and he had to pitch out. Playing his third shot from about 210 yards.
He's 2 over for the day.
He'd do well to make a 5 here then.
I'd love to know the measurement of how much power goes into his swing. It is ferocious, and it is errant.
And that is a bad place. That bunker shot is almost impossible to get close coming down that slope.
And no green. Not much room between that bunker and where the pin is.
Mark Wiebe is 205 yards. Hit an iron off the tee, playing a 3-iron.
I don't know. If I was to guess which of these 3 players were going to have a very difficult third round with the pressure, I would have said Wiebe. Thorpe has been in U.S. Opens before, and certainly Tom, but Wiebe is the one who has stayed on top, and look at him, right on the green again.
Well, he's had a makeable putt every hole, Al, since they messed around with number 1. Hit a good shot at 2, 3, 4, and now 5.
Wouldn't you think, though, Dave? I mean, wouldn't you say that he would be the one?
No, you can't ever tell. You really can't about this game.
Here's Tom Watson.
185 yards with a 6-iron.
Starts it out to the right.
Beautiful looking shot.
And it's short.
That's something you wouldn't expect at all at this hole, Al. That ball carried 1 inch or 2 inches short of the green and actually backed up.
Let's now pause 5 seconds to allow our local stations to identify themselves.
Action News follows the game on 24 KVUE TV, Austin.
You're looking far out into the Pacific Ocean. I wonder where that boat is coming from or going to. If it's heading into port, it's getting ready to make a beautiful journey under the Golden Gate Bridge and down near Fisherman's Wharf on shore. We are live in San Francisco. This is the 3rd round of the 87th edition of the U.S. Open, the beautiful Olympic Club, a history dating back to 1860 and then to the early 1900s when they begin forming this course into the beautiful layout it is today. This is the lake course. They have another 18-hole course here called the Ocean Course. And here are the men who are being challenged by the lake course today. Lenny Clements and Mark Wiebe still atop the leaderboard. Clements through 7, Wiebe through 4. Jack is still right there. So is Seve. What a day Seve is having. Jim Thorpe has lost strokes, 2 of them. Curtis Strange still very close. It's hard to get used to the number of names who are within a couple of strokes of being on top here. Greg Norman has gone up and down, 1 over. Now he's 2 over again. John Cook was right in the middle of the leaderboard. He's faltered a little. And here's a birdie attempt by Mac O'Grady. Dave, how would you characterize his game?
Well, he's one of the best strikers of the ball on tour. Any of the players will tell you that. He's physically very, very strong. He puts it in a little bit different words when he describes it, but he turns around and puts left-handed, which is unusual for a right-handed player to do.
As Nick Seitz said today, wouldn't it be interesting to watch him have a playoff against himself? 1 player from the right and 1 player from the left. Nick, of course, the editor of Golf Digest, is assisting us this weekend at the U.S. Open.
Here's the man of the moment here. Hasn't won on tour yet, Al, but made some money. Collector of golf clubs, I understand. Antique clubs or...
And wouldn't he love to get his hands on that little short club that Bob Rosberg showed us on the Late Show last night, the one he used when he was 3 years old in 1929, hitting the ball 100 yards.
Sometimes I felt like I was playing with that club. Okay, now he should have gotten a little bit of a read on what the ball is going to do from Max putt going across there. Moving to the right just the shade. Oh, didn't hit it.
Lenny Clements taps it in. What a round he is having. I'd like to invite you to join me for a Monday sports night following Nightline, of course, on Mondays here on ABC. This week we'll be chatting with Walter Payton, the great running back of the Chicago Bears. You know, he's trying to find a way to buy an NFL team. That'll be interesting. Plus, a very close look at the political unrest in South Korea and how it may affect the 1988 Summer Olympics in Seoul. Monday sports night following Nightline here on ABC. It is very difficult to find a spot to view the 18th hole as everyone awaits the leaders to make their way around this course and eventually up to this 18th hole, which has a very special pin placement, which we will be seeing a lot of later, which should make this hole very interesting. Out to the 6th. Second shot for Bernhard Langer. He is at 1 under par.
Al, he's got about 150 yards to the hole, and I think even though he's in the rough, he's got a pretty good lie, and I think he can probably spin the ball enough to get it pretty close. Pins in the left center of the green and going a little bit downwind and a little bit right to left.
437 yards. Langer along with 5 other players at 1 under par.
This is one of the fairways where they're measuring the drives, and according to the marker, Langer is driven at about 280 yards.
This is the hole that has the only fairway bunker on its fairway. As we wait for Langer to hit, let's go see how Seve will handle the 16th fairway. This is the long par 5, 609 yards, a third of a mile. And we've touched upon how difficult it is to get on in 2. As a matter of fact, no one here has been able to do it. Not even Greg Norman, who actually teed up the ball after his first drive and then drove it again and wound up 20 yards short of the green.
Well, that was in a practice round, Al.
Yeah, right.
Let's just say that.
He didn't do that
right?
this morning.
But evidently, Seve drove it in the rough because this is his 3rd shot, we're told. If you drive it in the rough here, it's a tough job to get on 3.
High over the treetop and long. That is a rare sight.
You don't want to knock it over any of these greens. I'm always surprised when a player hits it over one of these because everyone knows that.
Ballesteros with his 3rd shot over the green. Remember, he's at 1 under. Here's Mark Wiebe, co-leader at 2 under. Mark is busy writing a column every day for the San Jose Mercury News. He's got it.
Well done, Mark. He's had the most chances there.
We are trying to confirm it, but we think you are looking at the leader of the United States Open, Mark Wiebe.
Yes, that is a birdie, Al.
Thank you, Bob.
He hit an iron in there. A beautiful shot.
A birdie to go 3 under par, which is where he began the day. So it's been a struggle, some tough putts over the first 5 holes, but Mark Wiebe has held his ground, and he is the only one. Bernhard Langer is on the green. Remember, we were waiting for him to get set on the fairway. Now here's Jack Nicklaus's approach.
He's got about the same distance, Al. He's about 150, and he's having trouble selecting his club. I think he's gone to a 7-iron.
6th hole.
Whatever one he selected.
It was right, and Jack will have a chance to birdie Here's Tom Watson for a par. And he can use a par. In safely to stay even. But 3 over for the day so far.
He's a hard player, though, Al. He won't give up. He'll keep coming. You know, he's had a couple of 3-putts there starting early, and you got to put in your mind that you're going to make some. The course owes you some. You've got to think of it in a positive manner.
As you might imagine, with the gallery assembled the way they are on all these holes, one of the more popular items to purchase here today are the periscopes. As you look up the Pacific coastline of San Francisco, deep in the clouds there somewhere, the Golden Gate Bridge. On the 8th tee, a par 3, 137-yard hole. Remember, this is a little different here at Olympic. The 8th hole approaches the clubhouse, not the 9th. Here's Ben Crenshaw. He's at 1 under par.
Great swing, man.
Well, he didn't like that either. Al, you may think 138 yards is an easy little shot, but when you can't see the green, sometimes it's difficult to make yourself hit a good shot. You see some players hit curious deals here on this seemingly easy hole.
So we had some big names at the top of the leaderboard when the day began. They're still there, but Mark Wiebe is leading the way at 3 under par. More from the 8th hole in a moment.
This ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by USF&G. All across this country, USF&G protects your business, home, auto, and life. USF&G covers the USA.
Yeah, players go down here.
Back again live. There's the entrance to the clubhouse. Interesting to see Byron Nelson there a minute or so ago. He and Sam Snead and Ben Hogan all have their 75th birthdays this year. Ben has been ailing in the hospital. We hope that he is watching today. Yes, the Olympic Club. It was founded in 1860. It was a men's athletic club for gymnastics, principally. Bernhard Langer. Langer at 1 under, 2 shots out of the lead. Or birdie.
I hear you.
All I'm doing is losing.
Somebody somewhere talk about their golf as Langer wraps it in to go to 2 under, tie for second place with Lenny Clements. Ballesteros for a par. So it'll be a bogey for Seve, dropping him to 1 over for the championship and now 4 out of the lead.
See a lot of 6s at that par 5 there.
Oh, yeah. Meanwhile, Jack Nicklaus has a pretty realistic chance for a birdie here on the 6th hole. It would tie him with Clements and Langer, a stroke behind Wiebe. Oh, dear.
There's one that you may have just hit too solid, and it never took the break. Like it looked like it may move a little right to left there.
He'll have to make sure of this one coming back. It's a good opportunity for Jack. But there are a lot of people still in this fight. Now you've got Wiebe, 1 stroke ahead of Clements.